Hi everyone, we should be coming to you live from the Hattons studio once again. It's me and Dave.
Hello.
And today we are taking a look at something we've wanted to do for quite a while on stream, really, isn't it? It's one of our very own Hattons Originals products, the 00 Andrew Barclay. And we've got all 11 currently available versions with us today, and Dave's going to do his usual routing inside and fitting a digital chip for you. We've got, based on viewer feedback from the last few streams as well, we've actually set up a second camera for you there as well, so we can show you a bit in closer detail how to do all of that.
Up close and personal DCC fitting, really. So, as Jack said, this is one we've wanted to cover quite some time. And again, it's another great model we've got in front of ourselves today, and similar as the 1-2-1 video we did previously, with a lot of different colours, a lot of history to cover, and at the same time as well, a lot of questions from you guys to answer as well. So just let us know what you want to know, ask us the questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Sorry, just
apologies, but technical difficulties there with the computer system.
Right, onto the models in that case. So these arrived with us in April 2018, and we've sold quite a few since then, really. And they're the perfect sort of archetypal industrial locomotive. I mean, Andrew Barclay made hundreds of 0-4-0 tank engines.
There was tons of these things, weren't there?
You could really buy them off the shelf and get them configured to different designs for wherever you wanted one, really. Some industries bought one, some of them bought 10s and 20s and many, many different locos. So there's quite a few to look at there. The Hattons model covers the locos of the 14 and 16 inch cylinder sizes, and it covers the design from about the late 1920s until the start of the Second World War. So there's quite a few different locos to look at there, and quite a few variations that you can get within it as well.
Yeah, the amazing thing about these is they were, as you said, they were built sort of late 1800s, weren't they, into the early 1900s, and they lasted right up until the 1970s, so well past the end of the mainline steam, and you could see them all over the country on various industrial railways. So they were still chugging about in Scotland, Manchester, all over the place, really, on collieries and power plants and what have you. So they really got a hell of a lifespan for a locomotive, really, didn't they?
They did. A lot of operators really took them to heart. They're a durable, simple, rugged design, and they were easy to maintain. They were well steaming. So, as said, a lot of the industrial sites kept them on for far longer than a lot of other steam locomotives. Some of the examples, as Jack touched on, worked into the late 1970s with the NCB models, which is this one here, and then the, in fact, I don't think we've got it actually, the one I'm thinking of, no we have, yes, the other NCB model there from Scotland as well. And they carried on right into the 1970s, and modifications on those modern liveries as well, with the warning flashes.
I absolutely love this, because it's sort of wrong for a steam locomotive, really, isn't it? But it's so right at the same time. Because of these being so chunky and boxy, they do look a bit dieselish in a way, don't they? So it sort of suits having the wash stripes on there. I'll do a little close-up for the second camera there, if you want to hold that there.
Yes, I will hold that in place.
Pop that over.
And we'll get a sneak preview of our DCC fitting loco as well underneath it.
So you can really see the level of detail there, and it is just, they're an odd little thing, a lovely chunky little boxy loco, but they really, they've got a very unique look to them, I think.
They have. It's completely different than any industrial locomotive on the market. There's not really so much in a cute way. They are really sort of that rugged design we touched on before. They're quite a brutalist design, really, but it's what they were made for. They were made to work hard and be easy to maintain, and the model matches that just as much as the real locomotive. Really, they're quite easy to maintain as well. So, in fact, shall we get one open?
Go for it. Do you want to get cracking on that?
Yeah, we will start on the DCC fitting for this, and in getting into the body if you need to carry out any maintenance. And this is a really easy thing to do. All you will need is a pair of tweezers and a crosshead screwdriver. So if we turn over to the second camera, and we will get a little update there, and we will get started. So, as you can see on the camera, we've got the chassis upside down in a loco cradle, and the first thing you will need to do is remove the two screws here and here. which I will start on now. Just a couple of twists will release these, and we'll get them through. And it really is something that's quite easy to get inside this locomotive, especially for its size as well. Usually a lot of the smaller locomotives need a little bit more work to get into, things to unclip, etc. But with this it is just a couple of steps, the first of which is unscrewing these 2 screws as shown here. So that is done as per so. Next thing we need to do is just flip that over, and you will see the brass pipe here. Now this pops out carefully with a set of tweezers, and again if we flip the side, it's on the other side there as well, so just pop that out. The are stuck in there a little bit, so just be careful when you are doing that, but you'll see now that that is loose. So now we've lost the screws out to the bottom and the pipes are loose, so all you do then is pull away the body safely and securely as per so. Sorry, it's just coming apart now. It's proving a little trickier than thought actually, I do apologise for this. There we are. So the chassis and the body are now in 2 parts. So you can see inside there that you have a 6-pin digital decoder socket with a blanking plate already in, with a 5-pole skew wound motor behind it. And the chassis itself allows for full space for the cab to fit. So as we can see there as well, there is a full open cab area with complete detail, and you can really see it with the variation that's with the open cab there as well, with full details such as the regulator and reverser installed in there. And there is a couple of different cab variations to go for with the different styles. So you've got a couple of different window variations on there. You've got the square windows and the round windows, and I'll show some close-ups in a second. But that again really shows the configuration of these locos. They really were sort of built to specification.
That's it. It was almost like speccing up a modern car. You could have all your optional extras fitted, whatever made it best for your railway, you could have it made exactly the way you wanted to. And we've tried to cover as much of the most common and important variations that were created as possible. And this means that if you did want to go ahead and create your own livery or create something that was a bit more applicable to your layout, it's really easy to do because there's so many different varieties available. As Dave touched on, you've got your different windows there, different cab types. Obviously, the main variation that we've covered is the different cylinder sizes. And there's even things like different buffer sizes, like on Katie here, this one's got bigger buffers, which has been a bit of a fan favourite, Katie, hasn't it? So, right. So, and apologies as well for the slight audio issues that we were having there. I think we've sorted it out, so thanks for letting us know about that and for letting us know that it is now working as well. I'm going to have a look at the chat.
How are we doing on the questions?
Because we've had quite a lot of people coming in here, so I don't want to miss anything. Right. New Milton Model Railway asks, can you buy an Andrew Barclay with DCC sound? We don't offer it from the factory just because of the small size of the locomotive. It does require quite a bit of modification to fit DCC sound. It is entirely possible, and we have seen people do it, but it does mean that you do have to protrude into the cab a bit to fit the speaker in.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people put a small sugar cube speaker in the cab space, which, as I said, is entirely up to you. With the size of the locomotive, there's not really any room to get a speaker inside the tanks without a little bit of modification. But we do them DCC fitted. We can offer that service for you. So if you do want a digital fitted locomotive with a standard decoder, that is a service we offer, and we can do that for you if you wish.
And as Dave's shown how easy it is to actually take one apart, you can wind back this video if you like, or watch it again later and see how to do that. We do also have a full digital fit-in tutorial on our channel as well, with all the steps you need to follow, so it's quite easy to learn how to do that.
One question we got beforehand as well was what DCC decoder is best for this, and we'd recommend a Gagemaster DCC 23. So if you're taking notes and want to fit one yourself, that's the one to go for. But also we do have a DCC fitting video on our channel just for the Andrew Barclay, so check that out as well if you are thinking of giving it a go.
Yeah, it's a good decoder for this loco, isn't it? Because it's quite nice and small and it just fits.
That's it. It's
on the chassis quite
fit.
right. Right, I hope that answered that for you, New Milton. Right, Flying Scott asks, would I be correct in saying that all of these liveries were represented by preserved locomotives at some point in time? That's a good question. So
some, but not all.
Some, but not all. I
Yes.
don't believe Little Barford's been in preservation, has it, like that?
The Loco has, but it hasn't been
Not
in
in
that
that
livery
scheme.
in preservation. No, I think it's in NCB colours now.
Yeah,
actually,
I was just about
that
to say the
locomotive.
NCB colours have definitely made it into Pres. The Caledonian one that you've been taking a look at there for DCC fitting, that's been a Pres loco.
That's a preservation.
It always
livery.
has been, hasn't it?
The bonus with a lot of the liveries that have been chosen to model here is they are accurate for preservation and prototype service as well. So, for example, the NCB number 6 at the front there was used in that livery in the 60s, 70s, and I think the early 80s as well.
I think so, yeah.
In Scotland at Burkill Colliery, but it is actually preserved a couple of miles down the road from where it worked at the Bowness Railway Museum
Right.
now. And it is in those colours again. So a lot of people recreating the history in real life with their own locomotives. So a lot of the liveries carry over. For example, again, looking at WTT there, which worked up in Cumbria, that livery again was carried in the 1950s, but is as the loco is preserved now. So if you're modelling a preserved layout, or if you want an industrial location, the liveries are suitable for both causes. And a lot of the liveries as well don't have much branding on them or identify themselves to certain places. So a lot of industrial sites will have had quite almost generic looking locomotives, making a lot of these perfect for that as well.
I'm glad you touched on that, really, because it does make it really easy, as we touched on before, to customise these up if you like. We have seen quite a lot of people who've either come up with their own lines, their own names for locomotives. You know, potentially if you've got a really specific colliery layout that you've built or a mine layout or something like that, you can have it completely branded up to what you've named your layout.
Absolutely.
With them being such a sort of utilitarian loco, a lot of them were just painted up in a stock colour because they were going to get absolutely wrecked anyway and absolutely filthy. So what was the point in giving them a really nice livery?
Exactly it.
I mean,
And
on some of them, they've got, even the NCB ones, they've got some really nice lining on these with the red and yellow stripes down the sides.
We'll get a
so
close-up of
get
that, actually.
over
I think
there
we'll
and
get
we'll
that
show you
for a
that a bit
close-up.
closer. So you can see there, the lining on them is just absolutely glorious, but you consider that would have been going around collieries and power stations and stuff, and
they did get quite dirty quite quickly.
but they'd still bothered to paint it up quite nicely, didn't they? Which is a bit of an odd one.
Absolutely, and one area we can assist with the customisation options as well is we do offer 3D printed crew for these as well. We offer 2 variations. We offer an industrial style variation with crew in donkey jackets, should I say, sorry. And we offer a more traditional crew there as well. So if you did want to fit crew to these, I mean, with the open cab examples, it's hard not to find a place for them, really. We do sell those separately as well, and they are under the listings for the Andrew Barclays on our website.
And you can paint them up any way you wish as well. So if you did want to give them a specific colour scheme, like a different coloured jacket or something like that, or you know, your choice of chinos or jeans, you can do whatever you like with them, really.
Certainly.
So, New Milton also asked about have we got any of them in the liveries that are on them today? So hopefully we've answered that there for you. Ono Mulder asks, what are the specifications for this model? Should we go ahead and list?
Yeah, we shall do a bit of a list in that case. So over to you, Jack.
Let's do it. Right, so as we've briefly touched on, these are fully digital capable. Dave, earlier in the live stream, if you want to wind back, has shown you how to get inside one. They're 6-pin, digital ready, straight out of the box. And as we've said, we recommend the GaugeMaster DCC23 decoder for these, just because it's a really great size to fit in this little chassis. They are sound capable as well, fully sound capable, but we don't offer a fitting service just because of the amount of work that it does take to fit. It is entirely possible. You can fit it into the cab, or potentially some, which I've seen other people do, is they've actually given the locomotive what they call a match wagon, which is essentially a wagon coupled up to the back, hardwired in, and they fitted the sound into there and then wired it through to the locomotive, which is it means it's a bit less permanent. And it does mean that in the future, if you did want to have the locomotive running on its own without the wagon again, you can just uncouple that and de-wire it.
The actual chassis unit as well is of a really high quality, and if we switch over to the second camera, we'll get a closer look. So we have the 5-pole skew wound motor, should I say there, and the 6-pin digital decoder socket mentioned by Jack, but also as well you've got all-wheel pickup on there, so it is actually great through point work as well.
That's something that really astounds me about this Loco. Every time we've had these out on test in the past when we were first getting them in, and video content we have done in the past as well, they just run over anything. Because our layout upstairs, as a lot of people know, we have actually got some quite difficult point work and gradients for these Locos to have to maneuver. So you've got massive express points and massive plastic frogs on there, which you think a Loco with a wheelbase that small and with such a small surface area for pickups, you'd think this would really struggle, and it just doesn't. And from what we've seen with other YouTube reviews and other guys online, there doesn't seem to be much of a problem with running these at all. Really,
not at all. We like to give them quite an arduous test during the development process, and these passed with flying colours. And they are a typical shunting locomotive. People are going to want to use them in sidings and depots, etc., and over various different types of point work, even down to first radius curves. And they work through all of it. They work absolutely fine. And the slow speed running as well is a really important factor. And again, we've also done a model overview video for these that we've put on our channel this morning, I believe.
We have,
and
indeed.
That is on there, so you can see again the slow speed running quality. You can see some of that running through point work, shunting with different wagons and coaches. So they've got to walk the walk and talk the talk, really.
Oh,
they are a
absolutely.
small shunting locomotive, and you can use them for exactly that, really down to slow speeds, tight curves, the whole lot.
And like you say about having the full die-cast chassis in there, and they pack a fair bit of weight for the size, which is really something that surprised you when you first pick one up. It means that you are perfectly capable with these of hauling quite a lot of wagons if you so choose to. Now, there are a lot of pictures of these online, especially in NCB days where they were hauling around a lot of wagons. They could actually haul a fair bit of stuff, couldn't they?
They were punch for the size, and again, so does the model. We've got it up to about 4 or 5 full-size coaches, so to speak.
That's it, yeah.
So the real Locos might not manage that much. So if anything, they're more powerful than the
real thing. But having that extra bit of power there, even if it isn't entirely prototypical, it just gives a bit of a safety net for if you did want to run. You can run any prototypical working that you want with one of these, because it is just totally capable of doing it.
And they are great to see with anything as well. I mean, a lot of people have asked us for our recommendations on what to run with them, and essentially, if you've got wagons on your layout, you've got a job for an Andrew Barclay.
Pretty
whether
much.
you're shunting coal wagons on an NCB depot, some of them worked in petrol depots, power stations, cement plants, you name it. And Andrew Barclay was probably used by somewhere in that industry. So if you've got a wagon anywhere between the sort of 1920s and 1980s on your layout that needs moving, and Andrew Barclay's probably the loco for the job.
I was going to say the sad thing about the Andrew Barclay, but it's actually almost a benefit to the modeler, is that they weren't hugely well documented throughout their lives, just purely because they were that sort of workhorse loco. They were always sort of there chugging about in the background, doing all these menial jobs and shunting and on all of these industrial places. And people, quite often didn't have the equipment or weren't capable of getting to those places to photo them. There is some amazing stuff out there. There's some particularly unbelievable photos I've seen on Flickr from various contributors of them in some very grimy conditions and places. But the beauty, like I say, it's almost a sad thing that they weren't very well documented, but in a way that is a bit of a bonus to the modeler, in a way that you can almost get away with a lot of stuff, because like we say, they operated all sorts of places. There is a lot of recordings of that, but there isn't actually photo to back it up. So you could get away with a lot, really. We have got a couple of examples of what we have occasionally run with them to test. We've got some nice little NCB hopper wagons, which go fantastic with the NCB examples.
They do indeed.
And then we've also got, your standard BR Mark 1, because a lot of Andrew Barclays are out there in preservation and doing a bit of an unusual job, which they were never really intended for, which is passenger services with Mark 1s.
On a lot of the smaller lines, they're great because they're so easy to maintain, they're so cheap to run in real life. And perfect for use on 1 or 2 coaches doing a little shuttle service or on a shorter line. They've really found themselves a new career at a new stage in their life, so to speak, after what you touched on before with the sort of 60, 70 years of grimy industrial work. Now they're getting a new lease of life in front of passengers and getting another another job under their belts.
The thing is, they're so small and easy to maintain that they are a bit of a boon for preservation railways because they don't really cost much, they don't take up much room, and they, like you say, they're very capable of anything they can throw at them, really, aren't they?
And that's fantastic for modellers because there's a lot more excuses for them as well if you have a preserved railway on your layout or if you have an industrial set of sidings, even if you have a British Rail loco depot, there's locomotives here in BR liveries, Great Western liveries, so there's lots of excuses, there's lots of reasons to have an Andrew Barclay on your layout.
Totally is. Went off on a bit of a tangent there. We didn't even finish the specs. So other bits and bobs that you can find on these, we've got full NEM couplings front and back as you'd expect. Yes. Nice coupling sockets there, nice lots of movement for you. We've got sprung buffers on every model as you come to expect. The cabs are something that I absolutely astounds me.
Shall we go for a close-up on the open cab?
Get that on the close-up. Yeah. I will switch over for you. There we go. So, the beauty of these open cab variants is that you really can see it in all its glory. They're all fully detailed, fully painted up. We've picked out all the different levers and stuff in the correct colours, so you really can get a nice impression there, and you can really see it when it's going around a layout. It's something that you don't really see with a lot of locomotives.
That's it. We don't actually have a lot of locomotives of a fully open cab, and it is just great to see all that detail in there. And again, it's perfect to put a couple of crew members in as well if you really want to start personalising and customising your locos.
But even with the closed cab variants, it's still really nice to look at, and with cab figures in there, it just adds an extra dimension to the experience, doesn't it?
How are we doing on the questions?
Right, there's still a few in here. Well, just to say, hope that covered that for you, Arno. Anyway, I know we went off on a bit of a tangent there, so I think we covered as much as we could. Callum says that he gets the lovely chance to work on one of the preserved NCB Ayrshire livery locos. Oh, that's great.
Okay. That will be up at I can't name the name. I think it's Downmellington, the place.
If that's right, Callum, let us know.
I think number 10 is the locomotive that's preserved up there. So if that's the one, let us know.
Luke Knight asks, would you do an 060 Andrew Barclay?
It is. We never say never, really, with more locomotives. We do look at opportunities to make new models in the future. The best thing you can do there is send an email in to ideas@hattons.co.uk, which goes straight to our development team for review. And if we get a lot of people asking for the same thing, then there's got to be a demand for it, really.
Yeah, we really value any ideas that come in, and you just telling us now. And also, if you put an email into that system, that all helps towards our data for if we do want to produce something in the future. It just gives us more information to go off, really. So it's all really useful.
And that's the same for future models of the 14 and 16-inch Barclay seen here. We do have, as Jack said before, we have 11 models available at the moment, and we are aware that people would like further liveries, etc. And if you've got details of what you'd like to see, let us know. We'll never rule it out, so to speak.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, actually, because I had that question in my head already. We had Callum SDJR7F88 was on Facebook earlier and asked us, would we be producing more liveries in the future? So, as you say never. It might be something we like to do. If you've got any ideas or something you particularly like to see, get in touch and let us know, because you never know, it might be something we could do in the future. I was looking at a few alternative Andrew Barclay liveries this morning. I was just having a little browse on Flickr, and there's still so many to do. That's the beauty of these locos.
There's a wide variety here already, but it does go further than this. There's more opportunities.
There really is some unusual stuff. I think I was looking at Glasgow Yoker Power Station Blue.
Oh, yeah.
It's just... You'd never get to the end of it, would you? There's just hundreds of schemes out there. Right, what else have we got? Marius Musig is back. Hi, Marius.
Hi, Marius.
He says, what's your favourite livery?
Oh,
I'll let you answer that one first.
I love these questions on the live streams because it's the hardest question we can get.
It's the hardest one.
It's the absolute hardest question we can get. Now, I've got to say, it's Burnley Corporation.
I knew you'd go for that one.
I'm a Lancashire man, I'm afraid, and I have to answer with the local locomotive. So that's the way I go there. It's a simple answer, I'm afraid, but that's the one for me. How about you?
My favourite isn't on the table because we sold out of them quite a while ago, unfortunately. That was CPC Blue livery. And
that's the unusual one with a bit of different history.
I love the backstory on that because it ended up in the 70s in Manchester, didn't it? In Trafford Park, doing quite a bit of work. It's this unusual, very 70s livery. Unfortunately, we can't show you right now because we don't have one with us, but take a look online and you'll be able to see information about it if you search for CPC Blue Barclay.
Even coming in more to the varied industrial bases that these locomotives worked in, when these were first released, a lot of people asked us, what does CPC stand for? And it actually stands for Corn Products Company. Yeah. So these locomotives even worked in the food industry.
It's crazy, really, where they didn't
Not
work.
a lot of industrial locomotives can get as varied as the Andrew Barclays in where you could find them.
That's it.
It really does stretch to the absolute pushing the envelope of where you can use these locomotives.
They're astounding things. But I suppose if I'm going to have to pick one that's on the table, we've got another Wasp-Stripe one right here. We've got Little Barford in the Acton Lane Power Station livery. I just like Wasp-Stripes. It's just weird, but it looks so right at the same time. And it's just such a lovely...
We'll go for a close-up so we can see that right up there.
There we go. Again, those Wasp-Stripes is just something really unusual. But again, this is just... I think it's quite a sort of exquisite livery for something that was working at a power station all the time. They really put some effort into it, I think.
A lot of
the red handrails and...
A lot of the crews and a lot of the operators really took pride in these locomotives with them being such solid and dependable items. So it really is something that you see a lot of character in them as well, a lot of detailing. And that was applied by people who were just as passionate about the real locomotives as we are about the models.
That's it.
So, and you can, again, that gives you great opportunities for customization there. A number of depots may have put their own little embellishments on certain locomotives. So if you do fancy doing a little bit of customization, there's some really good options out there for you.
Flying Scott asks, I do also assume this loco runs fine on FlexiTrack, but are there any issues with running them on FlexiTrack, since that does tend to derail some locos?
It depends on how tight your curves are, really. I mean, with such a small wheelbase, they really will get down to a tight curve. We've had them through set track first radius and have been absolutely fine. And I'd like to think they go through something a little bit tighter than that.
I've seen YouTube videos out there where people have had them on their colliery layouts and other sort of tight yard and depot scenes where there is unusual, even tighter track work for getting it through awkward bits of point work and things, and I've never seen an issue with it, so I couldn't imagine that, unless you were going for an absolute right angle, which would derail anything. I don't really know if there'd be much of a problem.
We do recommend first radius as a minimum, but anything below that is sort of try it and see, so to speak, really. Give it a go and try it out. And
I think at the end of the day, if that can't do it, there wouldn't be much else that really could in model form, could there?
There really isn't anything that could get on a tighter curve than this. Thanks for all coming to watch today's video, by the way. As said before, we have done a few of these live streams now, and we're always glad to have you here with us. Glad to have you here in the Hattons Hub. As said before, it's almost like having you in front of us, really, so it's as close as we get to an audience.
Nice to connect with you guys in a different way anyway.
Definitely.
So. Doncaster K3 said he bought one yesterday. It's a very nice model, and he loves the open cabs and the insane amount of detail and performance. Really glad you've gone for one. Let us know which one you went for in the comments. And
yes, we'd like to see some pictures of it on your layout as well, so send those through to us, and anyone else as well who's got pictures of them on their own home setups, do let us know.
Daniel 14 Duck asks, can they be DCC fitted? If you wind this live stream back to near the start, Dave went rooting around inside the Caledonian Bell one, which we've got over on our second camera over here. He took it apart and showed you how that gets fitted up. And if you do want a bit more detail on it as well, we did produce in the past a digital fitting tutorial video, which you can find on our channel if you just have a little search for it. I'll try and link it in the comments at the end as well, because a few people have been asking for it. So you can check that out, and there's full instructions on how to do it. All you need is a Gagemaster DCC 23 and you're good to go.
Speaking of instructions, I think again, it's time to take a look at these, because there's something
you love
a little
putting
special
these out, don't you?
This was a special touch by our project developer. He really went to town on this, and I've got to admit, even with the locos in front of me, this is one of my favourite parts. It's an actual replication of the original manufacturer style catalogue. We'll go for a little close-up there for you. And this was produced with the Hattons Model Railway branding on it, but this is in the style of the actual adverts the locomotives are sold in themselves. So it's just a nice little bit of attention to detail there. And again, the full instruction manual is included. So this is a fold out paper piece. You've got your warranty detailing there. Once we go inside, you have got a full guide on how to fit the decoder and take the body off. However, again, as Jack mentioned previously, this is available as a video on our YouTube channel. We have recommendations for digital sound, as we've touched on previously, and also the fitting the crew, which are available separately, and the detailing parts and the cosmetic couplings, instructions on how to fit those are included there as well. So a fully comprehensive guide to the locomotives is included with every single model.
And it's almost like a nice little, if you did want to cut out that top section as a little thing to frame or have near your layout, it's just a nice looking bit of an extra inclusion as well.
Certainly.
But if you do look online, if you search on Google for this information, there is some great pictures. I think there's even a PDF file you can download.
There is. It's
of
on
the original catalogue that Andrew Barclay supplied to businesses across the UK for the Locomotive.
Yes, you can compare and contrast and just see how close our project developer got it.
He did do a smashing job on that.
A bit of a labour of love, that one, I think.
Callum, we were talking about before, about
Callum.
the who got the chance to work with the NTB Ayrshire Loco. He says that it's at Dunuskin Iron Works, the open cast coal miners at Dalmellington.
Okay.
So there's your answer.
Close but no cigar.
Very close. Callum Calvert asks, out of all of these, which are preserved and where? Ooh, that's a test.
Oh, now this is going to be a bit of a challenge, so I will give it a go. Now, Little Barford, I believe, is preserved at the Lincolnshire Wolds Railway currently in NCB livery. I think that is operational at the moment.
I believe so, yeah.
The Burnley Corporation Gasworks loco is preserved at the Bury Transport Museum in Lancashire, where it's on display.
Nice.
It's not actually working at the moment. Number 6, as we mentioned previously, is based at the Bowness Railway Museum in Scotland. I think the National Scottish Railway Museum, they know it as. And that's actually only a couple of miles where it spent most of its life working at Birkhill Colliery. 705 is currently preserved at the Plym Valley Railway in southwest England. And there's actually 2 variations of the same loco, so that's 2 covered in 1 there for you. Right, where are we going next? Over to Katie, which is currently at the Churnick Valley Railway in Staffordshire, awaiting restoration. It's in that livery as well at the moment. Number 10, I believe, is Callum's locomotive, mentioned before.
I think so, yeah.
That was based up in Scotland, which he's a trainee fireman on. And the Caledonian Railway Blue locomotive is preserved at the Brechin Railway up in, where is that? North East Scotland? I
think
believe,
so, yeah.
Up that way towards Dundee. Now, also preserved is Coronation, and that's actually preserved at Carnforth, the home of West Coast Railways. I'm not sure whether it's in steam or not at the moment. I don't think it is, but it is based up there.
And there are a few more in preservation that you can see out there, which we just haven't covered in model form yet. I do know there's Henry Ellison locomotive, which is at the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway. That sometimes gets out
in
of
Derbyshire, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, in Derbyshire. So a lot of them did manage to stay close to home in Scotland, didn't they? Which is quite nice that they managed to stick around up there in preservation. But if you're not quite up that far, there are some places that you can go and see them in real life. Like we said, Derbyshire and a few other places around England too.
That's it, and with Andrew Barclay's whole heritage being in Glasgow, the locomotives were built there, and some of their designs outside the 0-4-0 tank locomotives are exported all over the world.
Oh yeah.
So to have a lot of them still close to home, I believe there's actually an Andrew Barclay preserved in the old Andrew Barclay Works.
Wow.
As well. It's a set of offices now, but they actually have one of the 0-4-0 locomotives in the offices ready. So again, there's an opportunity to model these anywhere. If you have an office block on your layout, why not put an Andrew Barclay?
That's it, yeah.
You know, there really is opportunities to model them anywhere and anything. It's such a great loco for all that.
They've just got everywhere, haven't they? SLD51 asks, do they have 5-pole motors?
They do.
Certainly
It's
do.
a 5-pole skew wound motor, and let's take a closer look. As we can see here now, you can see the whole motor coming straight across there, as well as the 6-pin digital decoder socket. And it's also all-wheel pickup as well. All 4 wheels have pickups.
Excellent. I'm glad that was a great question before as well, Callum, about which ones are preserved and where. I think that gave your brain a good workout, didn't it? Figuring out which is where.
But again, as we mentioned previously in the live stream, a lot of the locomotives that are preserved are not only preserved in these liveries, but they are the colour schemes that they carried during their working lives as well. So if you have a current day preserved layout that are suitable for you, or if you model an industrial setting in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, they're a perfect locomotive for that as well.
Exactly. Midnight Trance says, hey, I'm very interested in getting one of these little tank engines, but how easy and how many loco figures can you fit onto the footplate? Well, I mean, realistically, they only really ever ran with a maximum of 2 people in there, didn't they?
Yes.
And that's about what they can fit. It is quite a small space if you want to hold that up
we'll
there
get a close up on the camera.
We're making good use of the second camera, aren't we?
Show the open cab there.
So it is a small cab, which is a given for such a tiny locomotive, but you can quite easily fit 2, maybe at a push 3, but realistically in operation they only really ever had the 2 guys in there.
Our packs of crew that we do sell for these separately do come in packs of 2, and that is what we'd recommend really for that. So 2 is the best to go for. If you can squeeze a couple more in, you're more than welcome to, but 2 is what we'd recommend.
Midnight Trance also says he bought an SE CRP class back in March at the Bluebell Railway, and it runs very smoothly on his Gauge Master controller. How slow and smooth can the Barclays go? That's a good question, actually. Back a while ago now,
yes,
we have actually produced a specific video that does just show slow running control, so that you can really see how good these are for shunting and different duties.
And that's currently available on our YouTube channel as well. So we did, as Jack touched on, have a lot of people asking that question around the time, with these locomotives really needing to be the creme de la creme, so to speak, of shunting locomotives, slow speed running over point work and tight radius track. So we did produce a full video on that, showing some really close up and personal shots of the locomotives at incredibly slow speeds.
And if you want to see even more about them, we've just released a full model overview video this morning with Dave going through the history of the locomotives, a bit of what we talked about here, and going through their full model operation as well. So there's a lot of content out there for you to check out.
There is indeed. And don't forget to check out our website as well, where we do have a full project page on the locomotives, again containing some of the history and containing the instruction manual, as Jack mentioned before. However, as well, there is some details on the actual development of these models, with them being Hattons Originals. We can go into further detail there. So if you are actually interested in the nitty-gritty of how these locomotives were developed in model form, take a look on the page there, and there's a lot more of the story to follow.
Good stuff. Flying Scott says, I mean, talk about exported. Quite a few railways in the Netherlands and North Belgium have one of these. I didn't know that.
I believe so. It's something I've not done a lot of digging on, to be quite honest. I think I've got a little project for tonight when I get home now, is to see just how far the 040 tank engines got. When the development was being carried out, some photos did surface of some that have spread far and wide around the world, and mainly with Andrew Barclay, it's again, they built things off the shelf for certain places, and a lot of the locomotives that went international were of different designs, but some of these 040s did escape the UK as well, so you can see them far and wide.
I'd be really interested to know how far one went, really.
If anyone does have any pictures they've got of locomotives that have headed around the world, do send them through to us. We'll be interested to see just how far they've got.
Just touching on that as well, Marius also asked, is there an Andrew Barclay in Germany? There might be, who knows,
yeah,
but I'd love to know if there is.
Off the top of my head, but again, I'd love to see if there was.
We caught up on the chat there anyway, so...
Fantastic.
There's one interesting thing that I think you pointed out to me before, which I didn't actually know, is that there were actually a couple of Andrew Barclays based quite close to where we are now in Widnes.
Yes, only a couple of miles as the crow flies from us, now in the ICI Chemical Works. There was actually a couple of the 040 tanks preserved there. Not preserved, sorry, I apologise. They actually used an industrial service there in their iconic dark blue livery. So even here, we have an Andrew Barclay near us, and at most points around the country, they managed to get an Andrew Barclay at some point. With such a Scottish design and so many staying in Scotland, you'd be fooled into thinking that they may have lived up there for most of their lives. But they really have gone to all 4 corners of the United Kingdom and spread around, and
I've been struggling to
found different homes.
Yeah, I've been struggling to find a county in the UK that didn't have one of these lurking around there. But
and again, just some further examples of the different places that they worked. There was a couple that worked for the British Sugar Corporation, as you said before, some that worked in power stations in Scotland, and little Barford worked in a power station down south. The sheer variety of places these locomotives got to, there's not much left that they didn't touch,
that's
really.
it. And like we've touched on a little bit already, it's just the variation in liveries that were created for these, with the operators being so passionate about them and with them operating so late for steam locomotives. There was all sorts of colour schemes. There was practically everything under the rainbow. Lots of really unusual colour schemes out there. Lots of unusual names and numbers and things like that. It's just, there isn't many other steam locomotives that have had such a diverse life as these, really, is there?
That's it. And one question we did have before on Facebook as well was that we do 14-inch and 16-inch versions. Now, what does that mean? So there's actually some good ways to tell the differences. The main reasoning is it's based on the cylinder sizes of the locomotives. So just to allow them to have that little bit more power, for example, again, with locomotives being built to specification, some owners and operators may have wanted something with a little bit more grunt. So they'll have specified for a 16-inch locomotive rather than a 14-inch. And our models cover both variants there as well, so you can really get down into both. And what I'll do is I'll put one of each in the close-up camera, and we'll just be able to see some of the differences. So I will line them up appropriately. Put them there and hold them up. Now you'll see with the 14-inch on the left and the 16-inch on the right, the first thing that's immediately apparent is the larger tanks on the 16-inch version. There, so you can really see that, especially if you put one next door. And also the longer frames too, if I hold them next to each other there, the differing style of frames at the front. But the most important thing is the larger cylinders too. You can see that on the 16-inch version now on the left that they protrude quite further. So they do have their own little differences and their own little amendments there, and once you get down to it, you can really start to tell the differences between the two. But again, the further variations that have been covered in the tooling really give each loco its own individual personality, with differences in cab fronts and cab backs, etc. The BR version having a smokebox number plate on the front of it. They've all got their own little individual personalities, and that's before we get to the colour schemes.
Yeah.
Really,
and
the colour schemes extend that a lot further.
Yeah, and for something that, you know, it was just a basic design with, like we've talked about, the practically provided optional extras that you can fit almost like buying a modern car right from the factory. They all look unique to me.
Yes.
They don't look the same. Not a single one looks the same, just because of all those tiny little variations, all the livery details, things like you said about the smokebox number and things like that. There isn't one that looks the same as another one. They're all unique and have their own little story.
I don't actually think there's many that are the same, really.
Pretty much,
they all do really dig down into some of those varied details.
Which made it a bit of a pain for us in terms of coming up with the toolings, because there's so many different versions. But it's a boon for the modeler, really, because there's so much choice.
And again, if you wanted a second Andrew Barclay maybe, or you wanted to buy more than one, you really can dig down and get two that look completely different. So you're not, for example, buying two similar locomotives or two of the same. You really can dig it down to have chalk and cheese on your layout.
Absolutely. Marius, a slightly different question for us here. And about much bigger locos than this.
Oh, okay.
He asks, what's your favourite Canadian Pacific Merchant Navy, or Duchess of Sutherland, or a GWR Castle?
Ooh, for me, I mean, I know I did answer in the video the other day that I was an LMS man and said my favourite was a Duchess. But thinking back to Canadian Pacific in that BR blue that it carried for a few years, that really was something else.
Oh, it's striking in that,
so
isn't it? Yeah.
It's got to be that for me.
I think I'll stick with the LMS theme.
Oh, I thought you might do.
Northern till I die. Scott Malcolm asks, he's just joined in. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
Do we still have Coronation available? We sure do. It's on the table right here somewhere.
Yeah, that is Coronation there. I will let it go for a
Give you a quick close-up on that, Scott. Yeah. There you go.
That is in the lined green livery there. Number 2134 with the number on the buffer beam too. And that is preserved in Carnforth.
Excellent.
Number 2134.
Scott also asks, are the NEM pockets at the correct height?
They
Sure are.
Yes. Now, I'm not quite sure how I'll be able to show this on the miniature camera, but I can show you the underneath and just show you the actual NEM pocket itself. And they match up at the same height as most available coaches, wagons, and other locomotives.
Yeah, we've had no problems at all with these. If you want to watch our model overview video, which was uploaded to our channel this morning, you can see it running with different stock, and there's no problems at all. Even upgrading into overpoint work, no matter what you want to do. No issues with uncoupling or anything like that.
None at all.
Midnight Trance is back again. He says, thanks for answering all the questions I had.
That's what we're here to do.
That's it. It's made the model even more tempting. With this in the P-Class, do you think the Hattons range may try bigger locos, or are you going to stick to the smaller ones?
We do have a couple of different things under development, really. We don't like to get typecast, to be quite honest with you. And with the 66 on the way as well, you know, we've got a larger locomotive there. But we're always open to ideas as what to produce in the future. We welcome your ideas, and if we hear quite a few of the same things being reported by a lot of people, it's obviously something to give some real consideration to. So the best thing to do with that is send any ideas you have through to ideas@hattons.co.uk, and that goes straight to our project development team so they can review what people are looking for, and who knows, what you want may just come on the market one day.
And all that data does come together. Like, it might just sound like you're sending an email in and we're just going to ignore it, nothing's going to happen, but all that data really does come in useful to us.
We have some technical wizards in the background with spreadsheets and everything like that. I stick to the models personally. I let the spreadsheets be steered by someone else, but it does all get collated and reviewed and made into pie charts and that sort of thing.
Every recommendation, we do take it seriously. It does get logged, and it all comes together with our market research and helps us decide if we are going to make some more models. So yeah, like Dave says, we've got the big old Class 66 coming out in the future, and we've also got quite a range of infrastructure wagons and stuff like that we produce. Obviously the railhead treatment train, we are bringing out the GPC crane in 00 as well. In terms of other bigger locomotives, technically it's not bigger because it's N-gauge, but it's a bigger locomotive. The LMS Bayard Garrett we are bringing out in N-gauge soon, so that's another bigger loco as well. So we do try to mix it up a little bit, but
we do.
Never say never for the future. You never know what we'll come up with next.
And any ideas are welcome.
That's it, exactly. Marius Musik says, what about the turbo motive? Can you do that?
Again, spotted the drawing behind us. It's taken a few videos, but someone
spotted it.
Again, if you want to send it through to ideas@hattons.co.uk, it's something we can take into consideration.
Absolutely. And Scott, just carrying on from this question before, Scott Malcolm, he says, cheers from Canada. Absolutely beautiful.
Fantastic.
Nice one, Scott. Thanks very much.
It is a beautiful model at the end of the day, and I can't stop glancing down at it while I'm speaking here, and it's just the sheer varieties in operational versatility and the liveries there as well. And as you said beforehand, you can use them from anything from the late 1920s right up until the current day. They survived in service into the late 1970s, and almost straight away we're into preservation. So there's never really been a gap in when you can use them, for coming up to 100 years now. So from the start there to the finish, you've got a great period of an excuse to run an Andrew Barclay.
Totally.
Diesel modelers of the BR Blue era can have a steam locomotive shunting a yard. Modern image 21st century modelers can have a preserved loco on a small part of the layout. 1950s, 60s modelers can have them shunting a colliery or any other kind of industry. We've covered so many areas of industry that these locomotives worked in, and
it comes down to pretty much, if you've got a model railway, you can run an Andrew Barclay on it.
It really does. If you've got some 00 gauge track, a Barclay is for you. It really does come down
it's that simple. It's like you were saying about just having to keep glancing down. You probably noticed I keep having a look at them every so often. But it's just one thing to get to with this, and it was the same when we brought out the P-Class as well, is that for such a tiny loco, the level of detail on these is just ridiculous. Even just the small details like the rivets on the roof,
isn't there, for the price?
The separate whistle and all that. It just adds so much.
And that's certainly it. And with them being available at just £89 at the moment as well, Catered is available at £89 and the rest are at £99. So a real bargain price to get a brand new high quality shunter on your layout.
I mean, what more can you get for under £100 really with the die-cast chassis, all that detail, such tremendous performance.
5-pole motor in there, perfect on gradients, tight point work, first radius curves, slow, smooth speed running, shunting operations, the whole lot covered, and change from £100.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
really does add up quite well.
Bit of extra cash for some wagons to go along with it as well.
And again, even as we were saying before, although they did get quite dirty, some of the colour schemes had a lot of brightness to what might be a layout with a range of BR black, BR green locomotives. It really can just help increase the variety of locomotives on your layout with a bright new colour scheme.
That's it. If you don't want to go for something that's just the standard, you can add a bit of red in there, you can have a bit of bright blue, there's a lot of options there. And if you did, like we've said before, a lot of these are painted in almost like a base colour.
Yes.
So if you did want to customise them, it's incredibly easy to do.
It is indeed.
SLD51 has got another really, really difficult question for us here. What do you prefer? An Andrew Barclay or a P-Class?
Now, I'm probably going to disappoint a lot of people here. I'm going with both. That has to be my answer. I cannot go any other way on that one. I like both, I'm afraid. I apologise that I won't come off the fence on that one, but I'm going for both. The Andrew Barclay is a rugged, dependable, reliable locomotive, and the model just oozes that quality out of it as well. Really is perfect for anyone with shunting operations. The P-Class is an exquisite Edwardian tank engine, some intricately lined liveries on there. Both of them fully crammed with detail. Both of them have really powerful motors and pack a lot of punch for the size with haulage capacity, superb slow speed running. A lot of the development was carried out side by side, so they do trade off each other as well with some of the developments and innovations in there. So I really can't come down on that one, I'm afraid. They both have the merits, they both have the really high points, and I apologise, guys, I'm going for both.
I'm going to be totally disappointed and say exactly the same as you. It's like, they're both small steam locos, and obviously they both came out at around the same time, so it's very easy to compare them, but these are absolutely totally different beasts. Like we've already touched on, the Barclay operated absolutely everywhere. There was hundreds of these things. There practically wasn't anywhere that wasn't touched by a Barclay. Yes. The P-Class, on the other hand, there was very few of them built. They didn't operate very far, and they weren't quite as usable as an Andrew Barclay, but I think a lot of people do believe that, you know, it's obviously completely subjective, but a lot of people do find the P-Class to be a very, very attractive locomotive. Yes. I do. I absolutely love the way the P-Class looks. It's adorable. It's absolutely tiny. It's got so much, again, like the Barclay, so much detail for such a tiny locomotive. But you can't pick one of these. They're both amazing in their own right, really. So, sorry to disappoint you there, but that's going to have to be the answer.
I think that's probably the hardest question we will ever get on a live stream.
Absolutely.
So we are up for questions, but keep them easy, guys.
Luke Knight is back and he says,
Hi, Luke.
I've also noticed a drawing for the P2 on the wall, so everyone's spotting things today.
That's it. Everyone's looking over our shoulders today, and we've got a lot of decoration in here. And again, the P2 is an iconic locomotive and easy to identify, so well spotted.
Yeah, good spot there. Marius said, just leading on from that as well, he did spot it, but he couldn't tell what class it was because he doesn't know his eyes are too bad or if he needs new glasses. It might just be because of the camera quality as well. It's obviously it's designed to focus on us as much as you probably don't want to see us in high detail. But the locomotive's on the table there as well, so it's not entirely focused on the back there. So that's probably why you couldn't make it out entirely. Andrew Weaver says,
hello, Andrew.
Could you build something really old like Stephenson's Rocket or the Lion locomotive that was in Titfield Thunderbolt? Oh, it's a cracking film, the Titfield Thunderbolt,
It's a really good film, actually, and it's one I've not actually watched for a little while.
I've not seen it since I was a kid, actually, yeah.
Again, the best thing to do with that is send them through to ideas@hattons.co.uk, and we'll take all ideas on board. And as we said before, if a lot of people are making the same noises about what to produce, it's something we'll really give some consideration. So thanks for your ideas. Send them through to that email address and we'll have a look and let you know.
Never say never. Every email counts. Right, Tank Engine Phil. That's a great name, by the way.
I think he's here for a reason. We have tank engines.
Perfect video for you, Phil. He says a highly detailed Ginty would be nice. Judging by the work you've done with the Andrew Barclay, you do a great job. Again, bung an email into Ideas at Hattons. Never know what we might come up with next.
We always take ideas on board, and we do have Ginty models available at the moment. Backman's Ginty is available in 00 gauge, whereas Graham Farrell's Ginties are available in N, and Dapol's Ginties are available in O gauge.
It's really something you can quite easily get a hold of, the Ginty, isn't it? It's quite a good one.
All three of the major scales do have a high quality model in there, so do take a look at our listings.
And I believe the 00 Ginty we've got at the moment, that's at a bargain price right now, isn't it?
I believe it is, yeah.
We do have some of the DCC Sound ones available, so check that out on the website. Maria says, what's your favourite GWR tender engine?
Ooh. Getting the questions here today, aren't we? I like the Great Bear.
Oh.
It was a one-off 462 locomotive, so the only Pacific, 8-wheel tender, built in the Edwardian era as a bit of a prototype. It's not one of the most obvious Great Western locomotives because, again, it's a little bit obscure. It usually hides in the shadow of things like the kings and the castles. But that was one that was made number 111, and that's my number one. On my number one.
That's a really good answer. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. I'm not too familiar with that loco. For me, GWR tender. I'm a bit of a fan of the Dean Goods. I quite like the Dean Goods.
It's a good model and a good locomotive.
And I think I'm gonna have to get the upcoming Oxford Rail pack with the railgun because that's just fun.
It is something very special. How are we doing on the questions front?
Right, Matt Higgs says, which has sold better? To be honest with you, both of them have been cracking sellers, really. We've obviously produced a second run of the P classes came with some more liveries there, like the Rod liveries and things like that, which were based on a bit of community feedback that they wanted more of those than the SCCR ones. Andrew Barclays, we've sold out of the CPC one, as we mentioned earlier, which was my personal favourite. I was sad to see that one fly out before I had a chance to get one myself. And we've got limited stocks of the rest of the ones you see on the table, really, so it's kind of get them while they're still available.
Get them while you can.
Yeah. Anthony Strathmore Road Junction says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hello there. Black Mountain Station. Why are the 040s such bad weighted runners factory? I'm not too sure what that means, but
I'm not too sure on that one. I mean, with these, again, just covering on the points, is these are excellent runners at slow speed with the 5-pole motor in there. They've got quite a weighty chassis with them being die-cast chassis as well. So the running qualities we've had are excellent, and again we do have a specific slow speed running video on our YouTube channel, so if you really want to see these operate right down to a crawl, have a look at that video.
That's it. Click or tap on our channel name down there and have a search in there for Andrew Barclay, and we've done quite a few videos on it now. We did a fresh one today all about the model, and like Dave says, there's a slow speed running one there as well, so you can really see what it's capable of.
Yes.
Anthony Strathmore Road Junction also asks, what new locomotives for 2019-2020? Have we got 2 hours left?
That's it, yeah, there's a heck of a lot of stuff there. The best way to see all the latest upcoming news is to look on our website, but also sign up to our newsletters and keep an eye on our Facebook pages as well, because all the latest news that we get goes straight back out onto there, so you guys can see it just as soon as we do. So after you finish the live stream, subscribe to the YouTube channel, pop over to our Facebook page and the website, and all the latest model railway news, including what's coming up for 2019 and 2020 so far, will be there for you to soak up.
That's it. Every bit of news, as much as possible, that we can get out there that's noteworthy, it's always on our Facebook page, like Dave says. Cover stuff on YouTube and on our website too, so check it all out, and there's plenty of information out there about what's coming out.
I think we're going to have to look at wrapping up. I think
so. We've been yapping on for ages as usual, aren't we? Probably got a time for a couple more questions if you want to add them into the comments quickly, and we'll try and get through them. Got a couple more left here to ask. So Midnight Trans says, thank you for the suggestions for the Hattons Ideas email. He's currently writing an essay-long email about a certain GWR loco that's well-known but never been modelled and ready to run. Look forward to getting that in.
Keep an eye out for that one.
We'll have to keep an eye on the inbox for that one. I'm excited to see. Black Mountain Station says, lol, number 111. That's your one there with the great
it's worth a go. I'll sneak a joke in if I can.
Dean Goods is great as well. It certainly is. SLD51, what's your favourite 462 Pacific?
Oh, I've covered mine just now, I think. With the
You have.
there. Yeah.
Marius, what's your favourite BIOS standard locomotive?
Ooh, easy question, easy answer. 9F.
Yeah.
Straight there. Easy question, easy answer.
That's it. Simple one.
At the moment, I've got my mind on freight, but I've got my mind on small locomotive freight at the moment. I mean, I could sit here for hours and hours and talk about the
there's still so much we could talk about here,
we've
isn't there?
We've only scratched the surface with these locomotives. As those of you will know who've got them already, the hours and hours of fun to play with, shunting on your layout. I'm a shunting operator anyway when I operate a layout, so these are perfect for any style of layout I want to operate. And just the sheer amount of different designs there, the easiness to get into, the high quality of the motor, the intricate liveries, the builder's plates on there, the cab detail, the difference in toolings, all the history covered. There's so much to mention on these locomotives, and again, we have done a model overview video, so if you want more Andrew Barclay right away, click on our channel and head over to the Barclay videos. We do have more videos there to cover these. We have a full page of documentation on our website covering more of the history. But if there's something we haven't answered and you want to know more, have a look at those videos, pop onto the website, and if we've still not covered it, which I think might be unlikely, if we've still not covered it for you, do drop us in a question on our Facebook page, send us an email, give us a call, pop into our store. We're more than happy to answer any questions both inside and outside the live stream for you.
There you go. Owen Wood says, do you plan on doing another run of these sometime? Sorry if this has already been covered. No, don't say sorry at all. We're here to answer any questions. It might be something that we cover in the future. If there's any particular other variations or other liveries you want to see, get in touch.
Yeah.
Ideas@hattons.co.uk is our direct email address for our product development team. If there's something you particularly want to see, if it's another Barclay or a complete other loco or a wagon or whatever else, get in touch. Every email counts.
And in the meantime, we do have 11 versions available starting from just £89 too. So if you can't wait until then, we can tempt you with these that we've got here at the moment.
That's it. And something which we've touched on already is just how customizable these are. So if there's something you see which is close to what you want but not quite there, it's really easy to just modify it to the way you want it to be, whether that's putting a different name or a number or coming up with a totally unique livery for it. Easy enough to do on one of these things.
Certainly is.
Luke Knight says, I noticed you sold out of the SETR Wartime Grey P-Class. We certainly did. That was a bit of a sleeper hit, really, wasn't it? It was quite a popular one.
Very quickly, that one, actually.
And we do have limited stocks available of the other P-Classes, so if you are after a P, it's the time to strike, because they won't be around forever, as with the Barclays.
Certainly is.
Philip Pecan, sorry if I'm not saying that right. Can Hornby trains run on Roco tracks?
I think it depends on the type of Roco tracks. The standard Roco track, as long as it's the HO track, you should be absolutely fine with most Hornby trains. But again, just check what type of track it is. And if you've got a certain piece of track in mind, do let us know. Send us an email, send us a Facebook message, give us a call, and we can take a closer look at it for you and give you a definitive answer.
There you go, Philip. Hope that was useful for you. SLD51. Oh, this is another difficult one.
I think I might have to make this our last difficult question now.
I think so. What's your favourite diesel?
Class 37 for me. I'm just going straight with my gut on all these questions today. I'm not thinking about it.
First thing that comes in your head.
Straight out. So Class 37 for me.
I'm a massive 37 fan as well, but bit of a controversial one. I'm a big 68 fan as well.
I knew you'd go over to 68.
And you knew I'd say that, wouldn't you?
I
not because I've got models of it, but it's just an awesome
nice
thing.
Modern diesel,
and I just really, I think it's great to see just standard locomotives still coming onto the scene. Like, you know, powerful, big, classic locomotives coming out, brand new ones, and they're going to be used for, you know, they're currently used for all sorts of freight duties and passenger workings, but they're going to be used for even more. We're just expecting them to start running on the Trans-Pennine services out of Liverpool and across the north, so I'm really excited for some brand new Loco hold services across the
Certainly.
north. So that's why I'm a 68 fan.
And on that note, I think that about wraps it up.
That's it.
We'll end on a difficult question in that case, which actually we didn't make difficult at all. So
that's it.
So thank you everyone for joining us again. It's been fantastic to have you all here and show you just what is possible with a Hattons Originals Andrew Barclay. Hopefully we've answered some of your questions, and if not, do send them through to us and we'll be more than happy to answer them outside the live stream. Again, if you've not quite had enough Andrew Barclay for now, we do have further videos on our YouTube channel below. We have a model overview video that's just gone live this morning, so that's hot off the press. We have a digital fitting video, a slow speed running video. We also have a full page on our website with reams and reams of information on the locomotives. So if this has really whetted your appetite and you want to learn a heck of a lot more, don't stop here. Spend your afternoon looking through, get yourself a cup of tea, sit down at your computer or on your phone and dive even further into the Hattons Original Andrew Barclay story.
Yeah, like Dave says, there's plenty of content out there to whet your appetite for one of these. I hope we managed to cover it. I think we've touched on almost every question that we got given, so hope that was useful for you guys. If we did miss it, or if you've got any other questions, like Dave says, get in touch. Send us a message on Facebook, send us an email, get in touch with our guys on the phone. Full Help Desk team is available 7 days a week, so We're always there to answer your questions. Yeah, so if you want to stay up to date with the latest updates, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for all the new videos and live stuff coming up over the next however long. Check out our Facebook page for all the latest model news, hit like on there, and check out our website for all the latest news as well.
And every loco you see here in front of us is available to order now.
That's it. If you check out the link in the description, you can find a page with all of them on, available to purchase right now. If we've managed to tempt you at all with any of these.
I think I've tempted myself. Never mind. I think
but like I say, I was after the CPC one, so I think I might have to get Barford now.
I think I'll be the first spending money after I've come off camera. But again, thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you here as part of the live stream. Thanks for some of your fantastic questions as well. You've really taxed both me and Jack. And again, Definitely. If there's ones we haven't covered there, do let us know afterwards, either through Facebook, our emails, or the comments. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Absolutely. We will see you again soon. Keep an eye on our YouTube for all, like I say, for all the latest videos and for our next live video, which should hopefully be sometime this week. And we will see you soon.
We will. See you soon.
See you guys.